would be the design of their dress that Grandma would make. Because a lot of people made their clothing at the time. So they made some sacks during the war with the V for victory.
Airplanes. Little airplanes.
Yeah, airplanes. And then these, some workers, you know, work gloves that they might use at one of the shipyards or plants, work for victory. A little pin that you could wear, telling people to button their lips at work. They might wear that around. You know, the mothers of soldiers hung the stars in their window. They also had banners that a war industry worker lives here. You know, so they're doing their part to win the war. Magazines. I tell people in the museum they were like the internet of the day. You know, radio and magazines. That's how you got your information and your news. And this one, 1942, has an article called "On the Home Front." And it's an article about the typical American family during World War II and how they're coping with rationing, and they had a son in the military, and all the things everybody's coping with. Here's the thing, that article was written about the Winnebald family from Evansville, Indiana. And, you know, why they chose a family from Evansville out of all the families in the United States, but they did, and it's we have a copy of that in our museum as well. You know, here's one encouraging people to become nurses. Encouraging women to become nurses, Life magazine. Advertisement, use propaganda. You know, Schlitz beer. Every fourth bottle goes overseas. You know, Coca-Cola, with the soldiers enjoying a Coca-Cola. Here's a couple that pertain to Evansville. Republic Aviation. These are all P-47 fighter planes, and you know that over 6,000, over 6,200 P-47s were built in Evansville at Republic Aviation. And if you look down here, it says Republic Aviation Corporation, Farmingdale, New York, Evansville, Indiana. And then this one is kind of a cartoon showing the soldiers fighting, paratroopers dropping in and using a Thompson machine gun. The Thompson machine gun used .45 caliber ammunition made by the Evansville Ordnance Plant, which is the Chrysler Corporation. And it says that in here, you know, Evansville is producing, and it talks about Chrysler making these bullets to support the soldiers. And so two that pertain specifically to our area. Radio, I'm not going to play it. There's a clip on there. But, Walter Winchell and a lot of other radio announcers would give people the news, and people would gather around the radio every day and hear what's happening in the war. Dr. Seuss, talked a little about him earlier. He did a lot of political cartoons during World War II. You know, this one, production. How do we beat them? Production. What have you done today to save your country? All right, I'm going to talk about Private Snafu, but I'm not going to show it. Again, these are all on the, YouTube if you want to watch them. But I used to show some of these to my students. I had to review them first because some of them are a little racy. But Private Snafu was created to get messages to soldiers. Now think about this. World War II soldiers were 17, 18, 19, 20-year-olds, 21, young men, young guys. And if you hand them a bunch of pamphlets and say, read this, what are they going to do with those? Yeah, a lot of times that's what they're going to do. So they got to figure out a way we can get a message to these guys that'll keep their attention. So Private Snafu was created. Private Snafu was was directed by Frank Capra. You might know him from some famous Hollywood movies like It's a Wonderful Life and others. It was written by Theodore Geisel, Dr. Seuss, and the voice of Private Snafu was Bugs Bunny himself, Mel Blanc. So if you look those up on the internet and watch them, you'll recognize the voice immediately. He sounds a lot like Bugs Bunny. But it's like how to take care of your gun. You know, don't spread rumors. That kind of message. You know, how to keep from getting trench foot. That kind of stuff. That if you hand them papers and tell them to read, they may not. But if they get the message from this and they're entertained at the same time, good. Last guy I'm going to talk about here, Carl K. Connect. I talked a little about him before. Carl K. Connect worked at the Evansville Courier from 1906 to 1960. He was a political cartoonist. A lot of people today know the name more from the Evansville Zoo because he was one of the instrumental in founding the Evansville Zoo. And if you go out there, the building that used to house the elephants, now there's a rhinoceros in there only, but it's the Carl K. Connect building. Because he was one of the instrumental in founding the zoo, when Evansville got its first when Evansville got the first elephant, they named it after him. They named it K.
That's right.
So from that point forward, when he did his cartoons, he would often put the elephant near his signature, representing K the elephant. There is a whole collection of these. We have some of his original artworks in the Wartime Museum. They actually belong to the local Red Cross. They all pertain to the Red Cross during World War II. But these are examples. These are all archived, and you can go on the internet and find them. These all pertain to Evansville. You know, this is where we stand in raising money for the war effort. You know, he would do one weekly about things that were going on in the area. The circus is going on. Look what's flying over it. There's a P-47, and you see the factory smoke. That they're all, you know, there's life's going on, but we got to get these things done for the war effort. And then again, these are some others that show the weekly things. You know, this one here, the USS Evansville was launched. Did you know there was a USS Evansville? This was in 44. Here's LST ship, and what else is going on that week? There's a carnival, on the Businessman's Carnival on the east side. And then this one is about women in the military, and women in the military in World War II that he did. And then the last two I'll show you here. Here you see Mayor Dress, and it just kind of depicts how fast things happened here in this area during World War II. He's breaking ground, and as he's doing it, there's an airplane already. They did things that quickly. Amazing how quickly they were able to change over from making one thing to another. Or this factory didn't even exist. You know, there was no building there. They were building P-47s as they were building the plane. Today we know that building as the Whirlpool plane, but Republic Aviation built that building to build these planes. And then that's the 150th LST coming off, so they're celebrating that. So, you know, just a brief program today on Pearl Harbor and the beginning of the war for the United States, with hopefully a little local flair to it, and then propaganda and how it was used by both the Japanese and the Americans during World War II. And I appreciate your time today, and thank you for coming out.
Thank you very much, Bruce. That was a very well planned and very informative presentation. Anybody have any questions?
I have a question in regards to husband Kimball, you know, Henderson.
Yep.
Wasn't that long ago, it was like they had some type of action to try to get him recognized again. It really wasn't all his fault.
Right.
Is there whatever happened to that?
I don't, they have not said that officially that it wasn't his fault yet. I think there's still a push for that somewhat.
He was forced to resign, and he couldn't retire as a boy admiral.
Right.
Retired as had to reduce his rank to rear admiral.
Right. Yeah, he was a fall guy, probably. You know, the military does those things sometimes. And, yeah, right now they still are not saying that it wasn't. I mean, a lot of people say it wasn't, but the military has not admitted at this point that it wasn't his fault.
Well, they had a young relative of his, Henderson or something, sent his stuff. It was in the news, and then all of a sudden it's not.
Yeah.
So what, is Congress, they're waiting on Congress?
I would say that that's the case. You know, they're it's hard to get people to admit they made a mistake sometimes, and it takes a long time sometimes to make that happen. But they do have a nice memorial for Admiral Kimmel over on the riverfront in Henderson. Got a statue of him there and so on.
Between all of the industry that was going on in Evansville, how come we were never bombed?
Well, it'd be hard to get this far inland.
Yeah.
You know, that bombers didn't have the range to reach all the way across the ocean or even from an aircraft carrier that could get, you know, they weren't going to get that close to us with an aircraft carrier without having to fight for it. So it was distance.
Okay.
And, you know, there was always fear of that everywhere, and especially on the coasts.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
but I think that a lot of
West Coast.
the stuff ended up being built inland because of the distance. And of course, Evansville could build the LST ships here because it's flat bottom and it can navigate the rivers. But yeah, distance was the biggest.
Well, that's having
Evansville-
96% of the bullets, you'd think that it'd be a target.
Oh, I'm sure they would love to have gotten here if they could have.
They were on the list.
Weren't they on a short list?
Yeah, they were.
I've heard that. Yeah.
Evansville was, yeah.
I've heard that, but you know, again, to get from an aircraft carrier across the coast where we had tons of defenses, you know, all the way into the middle of the country would have been very, very difficult for them. Yes, sir.
Getting back to the race issue, there was a black tourist mate at Pearl Harbor, Doris Miller.
Yes.
He shot down an airplane. He got the day they crossed from Nimitz. He later died in the Gilberts in 1943. So the latest four-class aircraft carrier is going to be named after him.
Cool.
Doris Miller.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, they made a movie about him
Yeah.
too. Yeah, yeah, that's cool. You know, you know, that talking of race and the Medal of Honor, that 0 African Americans received the Medal of Honor during the war, but a number were issued later. Only one African American that received it though was alive when they issued it.
You folks will be the first to hear this. You probably know that the Tuskegee Airmen were quite famous. Maybe you didn't know that they had 2 different bases in Indiana. And a movie was made called The Tuskegee Airmen in Indiana. And we have arranged for the producer, writer, and the narrator of that movie to do one of their programs for you people.
Oh,
Cool.
That'll be coming up. We're hoping to do it Veterans Day. We're still nailing that down, but you'll be invited.
Yeah, awesome.
Good.
Definitely.
Bruce, thank you again.
All right, thank you.
He mentioned a couple of things in his presentation that's going to be coming up a little later. And one of them is,
Sorry.
well, you just mentioned it. You didn't talk about it. One of them is going to be on the women in the war, the WASP, the waves, the WACs. And matter of fact, I think it's next.
It's next month.
Yeah, I think it's next. So,
Nice.
and there's a female presenter who's
Is that
pretty
Donna?
knowledgeable. Huh?
Is that Donna?
Yeah. She's pretty knowledgeable about that. And then on July 7th, our presentation is Evansville's involvement in the war. He did mention some stuff, but he'll be more in depth on it. And then let's see there. Oh, and then another young lady will be here to present Red Cross Homefront Wives and Children and Rosie the Riveter. So,
I think that's Stephanie.
yes.
Yeah, she's the one that had the collection I showed you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But kind of, keep watch on your schedule, and if those, you're welcome to come to all of them, because it's going to be a constant pace as far as the progress. But I do want to thank you all for joining us, and we hope you come back and finish it out fine if you want to do that. But we do thank you very much for coming. The museum, Newburgh Museum. Thanks you all. Yes, ma'am.
If we missed the first talk, was it videotaped where we can see it?
We're working on that.
Working on it? Okay.
It'll happen.
Yeah, 'cause I
Yeah.
thought this was the first one, so I was kind of disappointed
Yeah.
that it was.
Yeah.
We can't repeat any of them, but he's taping them,
Okay.
and we're trying to work that out.
Okay.
We might even try to show them on the wall out here on an outdoors, a movie, show some of these, so, anyway.
They will
Okay.
be up on my YouTube channel, Randy Wheeler,
Okay.
Legacy Video YouTube channel. I'm in the process of